three. Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show with my celebrity co-host. You probably know her from her own podcast, Polishing the Mirror, award-winning author. Let's call it what it is, award-winning author. Truly a celebrity in her own right, public speaker, and I'm truly glad that you took the time out of your day to come all the way from Norman, Oklahoma to assist me in hosting the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. I'd like to welcome my co-host, the one, the only, Miss Amy Thurman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andre. Oh my gosh, it's such an honor to be here. I'm so excited to be here to help you.
You ain't excited, man. You don't got invites to every podcast, every public speaking venue. You know, how can I get in your car and go where you're going?
Be authentic.
Be authentic.
That's it. You got to be authentic and be vulnerable. That's my secret.
Before we get started with introducing our guest today, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, because your story is truly one of inspiration, empowerment, and it's almost like you became an overnight sensation.
It is true. I was not expecting that. 10 years ago, I passed out and landed on my face on the hardwood floor, and the impact sheared my brainstem, caused a traumatic brain injury, and it broke my neck, but that went undetected for 6 months. So I laid flat in a bed for 23 hours a day for almost a year, and I couldn't walk, talk, hear, or see correctly. I almost swallowed a handful of pills because it was so miserable.
So you became suicidal?
I did. Yes.
Don't tell your whole story. Don't tell that, because you was also featured on the show, so they have to tune in to get all that
is true.
That detail. But how is it that how does it feel that you became an overnight sensation? That's crazy.
It is crazy. I was not expecting that. Excuse me, people kept saying you need to share your story because it's inspiring to others. Mm-hmm. And when you're living it, when you're in the moment living it, it doesn't feel that way. Mm-hmm. It feels like I'm just living it.
Right.
And so I began to write and put it in a book, and the book literally became a bestseller within 2 days, and it's taken on a life of its own. So I was at the Emmys. I'm going to be on a Times Square billboard, Like
I said, I need to get in your car and roll with you, get on your podcast and all that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for helping co-host the show. Today, but let's not go into that book yet. Let's not go into that yet. We're going to close out with that book.
Okay.
But let's talk about today's guest. And I am truly blessed to have this couple, a great book, which we'll talk about in 1 second, but today's guest their story is truly impactful. It's a story of values, a story of faith, a story of a journey. That's what I call it, story of a journey. And more importantly, the struggles that it takes to keep a family together. Not just a family, let's get real, not just a family, but a marriage.
Yep.
I've never been married, probably because I don't know how to keep all that together.
Oh my gosh, it's tough.
I should have read the book a long time ago. That's what I like.
Insight there.
Like that. But after all of this, they have done something truly remarkable. I just said I'm not married, but I wish there was a blueprint to understanding how to go through all this and be able to accept it, work on it versus walking away. So today on the show, we're going to talk to Walter and Lisa Page. The best-selling book, Rear View, is on the show. Welcome, guys, to the show.
Welcome.
Thank you, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here with both of you. And I wanted to share with the world that it's a pleasure to meet you, Andre.
Thank you.
As I said, we recently become aware of you. And I know through God's grace, nothing that we've done, we've had the ability to meet with you, and it's already a kindred spirit. So peace to you and your show. I'm going to help do whatever I can for you. Amy, I can't wait to read your book. So I was sitting up like this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We consider it a honor, you guys. So thank you.
Thank you. The book, Rear View, very impactful book of a journey of perseverance, struggle, resilience. You know what I thought was really even more? You talk about infidelity in here as well, and that's a lot of times you don't even hear people coming forth with that in their marriage, and the effect that can really have both emotionally, psychologically, whole nine yards. And you guys are very transparent in the book with all this. But before we get into the journey of such a great book, tell the viewers a little bit about you guys.
You start, sweetheart.
You ready? Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm Lisa Page. I'm the co-author with my awesome husband, Walter. And we are actually co-business owners in a business transformation organization known as Omega Training and Technical Solutions. I was born and raised in Queens, met Walter as a preteen, actually. And our business is geared toward transforming Fortune 500 companies, health, local government, and we work well together. But the hardest job in the world is I fire him almost every other day, and vice versa.
Yeah. Well, we have a company that we founded in 2007. It was at that point, Amy and Andre, that I really recognized she's way smarter than me. So she kind of molded me and took me into the possession that she is in, and that's change management. And with that, she taught me everything, but she's on another level now. And she was able to take that and make it align with the strategy and the things we wanted to talk about with the book. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
Lisa, I'm gonna ask you a question, Lisa. You guys said that you met when you were very, very young in the New York area. So my question is, what was he like? And what was she like when you guys met? If you can remember, I know you can remember.
Listen, it was at the end of 7th grade going into, we were 12 going on 13. And it was in junior high school 231 in Springfield Gardens, New York. Okay. And he was the shyest, nicest guy in the world. But if you stepped to him wrong and if you disrespected him, he was going to knock you out. And so that's in those days where you don't bring a gun to a fist fight.
Yeah.
And people call him out because he was just so nice. But his father had, taught him how to, but I just thought he was the nicest young man I had ever met. So that's how we met in junior high school, right?
We met because my friend was going to beat her up because she said a bad joke about his mother. And she was dating my friend, and I rescued her. I said, "Nah, man, you can't beat up my girl." She was not my.
I was not his girl at the time.
I apologize, Amy. You were saying something?
I was just going to ask if you knew that. Has she ever shared that with you before?
Oh, there's nothing, and I say this faithfully, and I say it with all integrity. There's nothing I don't know about my wife. Prior to us being married, it doesn't matter. And the same thing with me. There's no part that she does not know about me. Now, that doesn't mean I've shared every inner secret with me. I've been involved with men's ministry for a long time in my life. So my wife knows that there's boundaries and there's places she could never even broach. But with that being said, as far as I go, no, my wife knows and she knows my fallacies better than me. I always like to say, Amy, you got to have at least one person who could check you. And I found the one who could check me. So, Andre, in relationship to what you were saying, not being married, that's okay. Listen, it took my wife, and this is my second marriage, by the way. So it's not like I was married for about 18 minutes first. that one didn't work out. And then I found my wife. But, it's okay. It's the way God put us together. But no, she knows everything about me, Amy. Yes, and I do know everything about her too.
When you guys finally found each other, what was that like when you guys finally found each other? Because, Walter, you said it wasn't your first marriage. We won't talk about your first marriage and what happened. I'm more concerned about the next path of your life. How did she How did she re-enter to your life?
It was funny because we found each other again from a mutual friend all the way back in high school and junior high school. And it was just, again, it was God ordained. We caught up with each other. And while it was love again at first sight, she was already in a relationship. She was about to be married. I was already married, but mine I already was able to identify that mine was already over anyway. And, from both sides, not like, but my wife also, why don't you say this part about?
Well, something was birthed when we were teenagers, when we met in junior high school. And so we went to rival high schools, but we would see each other, and we vowed every year on each other's birthdays to keep in touch. And we did that until I went away to school and he went away to college. And then to the army, my bad. And then one of my best friends saw him at a club. And that's how it all came about again, right? He was married, and it wasn't quite working out, and he was asking about me.
And I had one too many Long Island iced teas.
yeah.
Up that night, I saw a friend. I walked over to her and said, "Is she available?"
Were there ever any? Because I'm gonna pull some questions. We're gonna pull some questions out the book. So I'm taking the viewers down the relationship path. So this is a question for both of you guys. You both knew each other for quite some time. The universe opened the door to see each other again, knowing that you both was in relationships that would soon come to an end. I'm not even going to use the word dysfunctional. We're just going to say there were issues that you guys decided to leave your relationships. When you're starting a new relationship, how long did it take to start the relationship together as a couple? And what did you guys address prior to actually reuniting, knowing that both of you guys had something that took you away from your previous relationships?
The real answer for me, the short answer is, I went into it again with not a whole lot of wisdom. I just went into it this time, Andre. I knew I was in love with her. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's all I had in the bag, brother. It's not like I didn't come up to her with all these nuggets of information. Well, let me share with you what went wrong with me and my. No, I didn't have all. In fact, I had so many more issues that I was dealing with, and that's not even talking about what we were going to go through. But either way, I did know, although I did not know God, I did not have God as a center of my life. I did know at that time that it was God ordained and that he had put her to be with me. As like you like to say, my brother, that's the way he aligned the universe for me.
What I had that I didn't have in my previous relationship, because my previous relationship was quote unquote supposed to be God ordained. I met my ex in the church. What I had with Walter since we were teenagers was he was my best friend. I could laugh. We laugh at the same things. We could talk about anything. And in our marriage now, when we get angry with each other as a couple, we'll put on that friendship hat. And that brings us back around. So it was the friendship that I went into the relationship with, knowing that no matter what, me and this dude, we're gonna have a ball. We're gonna have a great time because we not only loved each other, but we could discuss anything.
But that friendship hat doesn't come on all the time right away. That's true. Sometimes you got to go take a drive and then go put the friendship hat on. So it's not like we have all of these great traits.
We had to learn that.
I bought my wife a shirt probably about a month ago. I wish you had that shirt.
I know, I should have worn that shirt.
But you look fly. Always fly. But the shirt, Andre and Amy, the shirt says, "I love my husband, but sometimes I want to square up." And she wears that proud.
I do. I wear it like a couple times a week.
Walter, let me ask you a question, from a man's point of view. About what age was it that you got married to your first wife? What age was it when you left? And what age was it when you decided to be a permanent relationship with Lisa? But the second part of that question is, you mentioned you really wasn't ready. You was dealing with a lot of issues yourself as a man. What were some of those issues that you was dealing with, and about what age bracket was that?
When I first got married, I got released from the Army. I got my honorable discharge. I came home after 4 years. I was 21. And within a year, I was married. In fact, I was still 21, I believe, when I got married. Mm-hmm. And then the marriage lasted about 2 years, Andre. A year and a half.
Yeah.
But she knows
that. She knows that, but meanwhile, she's telling you after I went to college when it was the Army. You see what she keeps her mind on.
You did go to college in the Army.
I did, but that's, you messed up.
Give
me some props. Anyway, where was I? I forgot.
21, you got married.
21, got married. 23, well, 22 and a half, divorced. Married again with Lisa by the time I was 26. 27. Mm-hmm. Okay. I know the year was 1992, but just because I don't know how old I was. It was 1990 when we got married. So yeah, that timeline right there, some of the things I was going with, Andre, deals with the from the sublime to the ridiculous, from infidelity to drug use, drug abuse, to suicidal, not just ideations. I took it there sometimes, and so again, things that resonate with me. And these are, by the way, I like to tell people now, while my goal is to be a bold witness. I want everyone to also recognize that this is new. It's not like I was when it was happening to me. No, it actually added to a lot of my own frustrations. And it was just a downward spiral that I found myself not caring about. This is even prior to us not knowing we couldn't have children. Right. So,
did you grow up in a household with both your parents?
I did, my brother. My dad was a policeman, retired, the first black lieutenant for the New York Police Department, and he did it in internal affairs. And one thing I always loved about my dad was that I know he was an integrity-based man, and to be a man of color and to hold that, or that had, and at the same time, I struggled with disrespecting my dad because I already had found out by the time I was 20, 21. I can't do this kind of work for 50, 60 hours. You come home for that kind of money. And in a way, I was like, I was questioning real morals and real values with how much people were making monetarily. And I had already knew I could make more than the $30,000 my dad made as a black police lieutenant. I was like, yeah, you could hang that on the wall. But I also felt that our people were stagnant and we weren't doing anything. So I had that was something else I struggled with as well.
Let me continue this, and I'm gonna let Amy ask Lisa a couple questions as well about her journey. But let's stick with you for a minute, because at that age, you said you shared something that was really impactful. You shared the not so much the drug part, but a key word that I picked up. You got to the point that you were suicidal at that age. Like, what was really going through your mind that you even got to that point at such a young age? Had you met Lisa at that time when you was going through the suicidal part?
I knew Lisa. Again, we knew each other since we were 13 years old. So I knew her. We did stay in touch. And while I was getting to that part, Lisa was aware. When we were first starting to get together, there were days or some times where Lisa knew that whether I was alcoholic or a drug user or drug abuser, whatever it was, she did know that there were signs that I was, it was okay for me to bend my elbow too much sometimes. Yeah. I would drink when it wasn't so much needed. And she was aware of that. So
when did the suicidal part come in? What was the blow that took you down the suicidal road?
When I knew the first day I knew I wanted to be dead, I had just finished probably 3 days by myself in the motel with whatever drugs I had for 3 days by myself. I hid from my wife at the time, and I wasn't with Lisa, but I was seeing her. She had no knowledge of that stuff. She does, of course, now. But yeah, that was one of the times, and I really I felt my heart stopping a few times, and yet I wanted some more drugs. I wanted to die, and so it was while I was also, you could, in the end, I also know if I wanted to really kill myself, I would have. So I was just grateful at the time. But that's the first time it took me to that level where I was face to face. I went to the mirror, Andre. I remember I went to the mirror in the motel room, and I remember looking at it, and I started crying, and I was like, man, I do not want to be here. That was the first time. When I started crying and looking at myself, I still had some drugs left. It's not, I wasn't fiending. I still had drugs left. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I felt my marriage was over. I felt my friendships was over. I felt abandoned. I didn't know God, so I totally had cursed him out. He's done. I knew you weren't around. I knew you'd let this happen. That's my attitude, and then of course.
When you woke up and realized that you still had a marriage that was handicapping you, you still had the drugs that was handicapping you, you had underlying issues that was still handicapping you.
Yes, sir.
When you finally looked in that mirror and questioned, why did you forsaken me, so to speak? When you woke up, became somewhat sober, what did you look back and start reevaluating that was important in your life that you decided to do that shift?
It was that humble ride, 27-minute ride home from Jamaica, New York, where I was hiding in a little side motel, to my home back in Rosedale with my wife at the time. So that was that 27 or so minute ride, the humility I had to go, but also I had to be able to stand and say, I need help. That was the first time I ever, as a man, said, I need help. And she was willing to help me, and I always thank God for that. So it's not like she abandoned me. It's not like I had some bad horror story with my marriage. No, we were young. We were both being silly and ignorant, as young people do. We think this is it, and it's very easy. The finality of divorce is just so easy to do. I mean, your contract, the covenant that people make with a marriage is just too easy to just be out of. Right. So that's why percent or 54% now, and in divorce, it's just as easy to get out of. I could spend $275 right now, and we could say peace. That's all it takes. I mean, it's just kind of sad. But anyway, we fought those things. But I hope I answered your question, though.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Lisa, I'm going to ask you a question. Let's flip the script a minute. You was going through the same things. Let me rephrase this. Your marriage wasn't what you thought it would be. That's still your best friend on next to you, now your husband. What were you missing, and what were the things that you was going through that, and let me explain where I'm going with this. When you're looking at the rear view, you're leaving a lot of that bullshit behind, but it's still there. It's still there somewhere, but you left it far behind. You walked away. You decided that this wasn't what you wanted. What were you dealing with in your marriage?
I was a people pleaser, and I got that from trying to please my mom and my dad. Mm-hmm. I'm the baby of 10, 18, and 20 years. And I used to sing. I have the gift to be able to sing, and my mother would use that to showcase me, and I would use that in turn to get what I wanted from my parents. But I did whatever they asked me. Born and raised in church. When I'm talking about born and raised in church, I mean every 3 or 4 days. And so I did whatever I could to please my parents because that's what made them happy. And I was happy to see them happy. And so if they said, marry this guy because he's in the church, that's exactly what I did. And I thought that would please them. And so you have to understand that when I loved Walter, I've loved him since since we were kids. I loved Walter, but I knew that some of the struggles that Walter was going through, that may not have been good for me. It may not have been good for my parents. It wasn't good for the way that I was raised. And so I threw all caution to the wind and I believe that it was God ordained because I was not, I'm not going to say that, I knew God and God was my center, but I was not really convinced because I'm not religious. And I knew religion was kind of, I being raised in the church and see people say one thing and then do it next. I was used to that. And so there was no authenticity there. And I was not in the word of God for myself, but I loved Walter. And I knew that I wanted to please my parents. So I did what they told me and I married this man. But the first opportunity that I got when my girlfriend had me surprise meeting with Walter at this club that they had arranged, I knew I could not have gone through with the marriage to my husband, my ex-husband, but I still did it to please my parents. That thing lasted 6 months.
Let me ask a deeper question. Wait a minute. I'm forgetting my co-host. You got a question you want to ask?
I do.
Go ahead.
I'm really curious. Because I can relate to that. I think a lot of people can relate to what you guys are sharing. I think a lot of people go through this and they just don't talk about it. But I know from my experience that relationship trauma is real. Like you guys have both been through some things that I'm sure caused some relationship trauma. And you take that and you bring it into a new relationship and you have to start over. It's like you have to rebuild, but you also have to deal with the trauma that you had in the first relationship. So I'm curious how you guys were able to work through that to come together to this beautiful relationship that you have now.
Well, isn't it funny? And I don't mean funny, haha. But isn't it funny that question, we've been posed that question now for 32 years, and it still makes sense to ask that, Amy, because it was hard to answer. Nobody wants to hear you talking about God, and you just got out of, he broke up your marriage, and now he's with you, and you just messed up her marriage. She didn't say, what kind of God? I could be down with God too, then, if that's all it takes. So there's a lot of ways, but now after 32 years, so I tell people, however way God supplants you, and if that's what God told you to do, it's not for us to question whether it's right or wrong.
But I'm going to answer Amy's question. We left New York. Everywhere we went, they were like, didn't you just marry? And weren't you married too? We had to leave New York and we moved to Maryland. We actually got married in Maryland.
Yeah.
We left New York to be together, to be happy. That friend that got us together at that club, she had moved 6 months prior to us. And so she was like, oh, it's wonderful down here. It's beautiful. So we left. We could not stay in New York and be a happy couple because we were being condemned. People didn't understand us being together.
I wasn't worried about that. She was.
And so
You literally had to start over, like completely over. Life, city, everything, just completely start over.
It sounds like a Romeo and Juliet type situation. You know what I mean? With that said, let's get even deeper because I'm going through every part of this book. One of the biggest factors in marriages is finances. You guys left, started life all over. That's finance. Another part of destructions of marriage is infidelity. Those are the two key components. Let's get real. Everything else. And the third is communication. But you guys already have great communication or you wouldn't have gotten to where you at today. So you was keeping in communication one way or the other. So now let's move forward. You decided to pack up, right? You put her in your chariot, your Cadillac, and your roll. Finances is one, and then fidelity, because you guys were both married. I'm pretty sure, let's get real. People listen to the show. You was doing your thing. How do you address this moving forward? Because she's a woman, you're a man. Women think differently than men, and vice. Men have all kind of boxes in our head. We can shut them off with like this. Women don't. And we know that's why she was like, "Oh, you better get that date right." How do you address this? With just packing up, leaving, and did these things surface? Because I know they did, because they're in your book. And how did you deal with it?
To get the finances out of the way, so lest anyone get it confused, I had just won a car accident settlement for my $5,008. Lisa's father and mother lent her 10 grand, and we was out. That was it. I didn't have any money from my job that I had. I lived paycheck to paycheck. She pretty much did the same thing, although she bought better things than me. But we were just, but we made good money.
And we lived in a hotel until we got jobs.
Right. And as soon as we moved down there, we lived in a hotel. Let's go down. This is fax machines. This is sending out real letters. This is waiting on them to respond. This is not having a fax, so you got to go down to the hotel and have them do it for $4 at a time.
Using the hotel phone. No cell phone.
And we went down there. We were 23. How old were we?
We were 25.
25 and 20. Okay, you just both turned. But we went down there. Lisa got a job first for $32,000 a year. I got a job for $19,000 in about a month and a half. We moved out of Howard Johnson's, and we started living life again. I knew I wasn't going to mess up on her. You know why, Andre?
Why?
When I saw this chick right here tell her mother in her nightgown in the middle of the night, I don't want to be with him, while my man was standing there, and I'm here now. That's another story. She told her mother and her sister, I want to be with Walter, with tears in her eyes. I was there. It was 3, 4. Now it was probably 7 in the morning, right? Because I got there about 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
So it was confrontation.
I chose him, and so that's what he's saying. I chose him, and so he knew that I was serious about our relationship, and that helped make us more committed. We had to leave New York and go to Maryland and be on our own. It was like we were like, look, we're doing it. We're really doing it. This is really happening. We're really doing it. And so we moved into the flyest apartment we could have. Remember, we didn't have any children. Right. And we became friends with our couple neighbors, and our house was party central. And so we were just dedicated to each other. We didn't do anything without each other. So
we came to New York, Andre and Andy, Lisa was probably making 60 grand working in Manhattan, and I was making about 40 grand. I was in a union with Pepsi Cola. And so we were making 100 grand together, but we left and came down to Maryland and was making 55, but we thought we were making 150 because the whole game was changed. Apartments and everything that you could get for the money, this is the game changer. So, but yeah, as far as that goes.
You mentioned there was confrontation, and her family is what you might say stat fast. She came from a structure that was based on religion, plain and simple. Right. I get the family values, but religion was the trump card here. You was the guy nobody wanted to deal with. My hat's off to you, Lisa, for standing up to your family for what you knew was going to be the person you want to be with for the rest of your life. But what was that? What was that like for both of you guys? And more importantly, Walter, you going into enemy's territory. They don't care for you, dog. They don't care for you. And then the second part, wait a minute. Then the second part of that, you're going. Did your family, Lisa, basically because we never really wash our hands from our family members, no matter how bad things get. But did at some point they basically cut you, said we don't want to do because of the choice that you picked to be with Walter?
They could never do that to me, ever. One of the greatest values of my mom and dad, although they were, my mom and dad were born in the 20s. They left Jim Crow South to make a better life for their children in New York. Her biggest thing, my mom was one of 8. Her biggest thing was, I don't ever want my children to go overnight without speaking to each other, no matter what you go through.
Okay.
And so she was not playing. Okay, you chose this turkey. We're gonna accept him. It's gonna be tough, but we want you in our lives. And
why was it tough? We never got to that. Why was it tough for them to accept him?
They hated.
Okay, so I'll put it into perspective. My ex-husband is a pastor.
Oh, I got you. I got it. No, said. I got you. I got you.
Yep.
I got you. So now you went and got Billy the Kid, so to speak.
Both guns blazing. Both guns blazing, Beast. Both of them, bro. Yeah, man. It was different. We could say it was a perpendicular path, for sure.
But what made it worse was Walt wasn't backing down. He was like, "You don't like me, I don't like you."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh no, but can you please just acquiesce a little bit? Can you be a little nice? Can you act a little bit like you like God?"
But
he do so. He was not.
Wait a minute, Walter. Wait a minute. Did you just tell him, can you at least act like you like God?
Yes.
I never heard that one before. Can you act like you like God?
Just pretend.
As soon as I saw her mother and father driving up, I used to light a cigarette and open a beer. I was like, that's how, you know why? Because in my way, my rebellious, not knowing finite mind, I'm seeing that these people are judging me and this is what she wants me to be a part of. I can't get that.
Right. I got you. Yeah.
Yep.
You wanted them to accept you for you, and if it was time for you to change or whatever, you would do it on your own terms.
I wasn't a bad guy, Andre. I wasn't a bad man. I was a good man. As far as, I told the line, I did what I had to do. I took care of my family, my wife. I worked. I wasn't a bad guy. I didn't lust after women. I didn't hang out with guys.
He's a great guy.
I did what I was supposed to do, but again, that's not to give myself any props because I had come from not doing what I was supposed to do at all.
Right.
So this is round 2. It's not like I'm doing something fly. I made a lot of mistakes, and I don't want to repeat them. So,
were there, before we wrap up, we're gonna move forward a little bit. I'm gonna let you ask some questions, but I got to get this out while it's fresh on my mind. When you get to be my age, information has to come out right off the bat, because if not, you'll forget it. But were there? You mentioned mistakes. You guys are both young. This is clearly a Romeo and Juliet story.
Oh, absolutely.
So just 2-part question. First of all, what kind of car what was your horse and buggy? What was you rolling her around in?
We started with my first decent car was at the time, my first car where I felt I arrived was I got a 92 BMW 525.
Okay.
It was 1996.
Right.
I had arrived. I was 4 years behind. And I was at the time, Andre, I was about 300. So I really couldn't even fit in this.
Yeah.
That's all I could afford. I couldn't get the next level up. So
okay.
From there on, we continually said, let's build ourselves up. And we worked hard to do that for each other. So
you wish her, you sweep her away to a new life in your BMW. But what were some of the things that you guys struggle with? Because let's get real. She comes from a religious structure background. She's your best friend. She's now your lover, your soulmate, your confidant, your best friend.
Yes, sir.
And she sees the things that you've gone through and vice versa. How do you guys, did any of this stuff, 2-part question, did any of these habits, because you mentioned I need help, I remember that. You mentioned I need help. Lisa didn't say whether she needed help or not, so we'll get into that in a minute. But the point is, did any of these old habits resurface from both of you guys into your relationship? And if so, what were they and how did you deal with it?
Let me tell you something. We were married 32 years. So everything I just told you about that happened in my life as a 19, 20, 21-year-old happened again in those 32 years. And I'll expand on that as much as you need me to, because I'm never ashamed of my life. I'm happy, in fact, because there's an end game to this. So I'm never ashamed of it. And I want people to learn, but I want you to know being married 25 years don't guarantee you nothing. That don't guarantee you're going to be married 27 years. Being married 32 years doesn't mean I'm going to be married in 33 years. I have to honor this woman. I have to take care of her. I have to cover her. I have to make sure that she's covered first. That's my job. And it's her job to make sure me, as the head of my home, have the tools necessary to make the things run. That's my wife's job with me. That doesn't put her secondarily. It's just the way I see my life with my wife. And I know that wouldn't happen without her. So God starts everything for me, Brother Andre. He started everything and he multiplied it more and more. That's why by the time when I finally said, when I knew I wasn't never going to have a child, when I knew in my heart that I was never going to have a child, I became so in love with my life with God because he just opened up new areas of opportunity for me. And I was able to say to my wife, babe, it's okay. Whether we adopt, whatever we have to do, we're going to have children, but we're not going to have one like this. But we're not going to spend money to create one. That's when I got to that point, my life just opened up a whole different level.
And so,
I talk too much sometimes.
No. And so, in answer to your question, our prayers are answered. We have our 3 children. We take them, the infants and the 17-month-old. We relocate to a big, beautiful home in North Carolina. You heard my husband say he was 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Pounds, but he had surgery. He had gastric bypass.
Wow.
To deal with diabetes. And so
what year was that?
That was in 2003. And so we move here. Everything is the empty nest. 3 children in diapers. Mother-in-law 2 blocks away.
Right.
Yeah, we went through. That is book number 2. That is the bestseller because now we have to ask God for. How do we live as a couple? I don't even know this man as a father.
How do I give it back? God, you want this back?
Right. I don't even know this guy as a father. I had to deal with him as my best friend and my husband and my man, my dude. But now you're a father, and I'm looking at him like he has 3 heads on. Why are you doing this like this? Why are you saying this? And there are things that we went through as a married couple, as parents in a new city.
Crazy.
That would break the strongest couple, but God. So that's
wait. Don't give me all the information. I know part 2 of this book is coming out. So give me like at least 3 of the things that were different now because you didn't know him as a father. He didn't know you as a mom. This is uncharted waters.
This is uncharted waters, and Walter hadn't touched. His transformation was real and true.
Right.
Walter hadn't touched a drug, anything, since we were married. And down here, you can go to the Sheetz gas station and get wine. And so we thought that was cool. We're a young couple. We got 3 kids, and we chilling until it became not cool. And I'm like, hun, that is a second bottle. And the kids, we have to put them to bed and sing lullabies. And
she's not talking about a bottle.
And sing gospel songs.
She's talking about the 1.5 liters.
Yeah.
Okay. I took 2 of those on a regular basis. I don't want to say nightly, but it was a regular basis. And I knew at that time I was a functional alcoholic. And I knew because I knew how to make sure my bills was paid. I knew how to make sure I did task A, B through Y. Z might be a little late because I got up a little late, but it's still under control. So that's where it went to.
But what was the trigger? Was the trigger the fact that you're no longer able to have the single life? I mean the life as a couple. You're now parents. I mean, did that trigger? Let me call it what it is. Did it trigger fear in both of you guys?
It didn't trigger fear in me, but what it did do, it kind of made me minimize what got me here in the first place. But I took for granted the gifts and the grace that God showed us. Again, I took it for granted, and I'm just like every other sinner who falls short of God's glory, who says, God, if you just get me out of this one more time, I promise you guys, 7 stars for you and 4 moons.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. And I did that. And I took what he gave me for granted. And he took his hand off my shoulder, and I had to deal with some consequences because of that. Book 2 again. So yeah.
What are you going to ask? I know you got a question.
I want to shift the conversation, if that's okay, to the book.
Go ahead.
I wrote down.
Go ahead. How deep you going to shift it? That's the question. How deep you going to shift? That way I know I'm in the crowd with you, so I got to be on the same speed. Yeah. So go ahead, shift it right now.
I like to go deep. I like to know really deep, meaningful things. And there are some quotes from the book that really stood out to me that I just want to share for those watching. And get your take on this, Lisa and Walter. The rearview mirror allows us to glance back without losing our way forward. Isn't that powerful? Oh my gosh, I love that. I would love to know where that came from. And my thing when I read that, I felt like that's so good because we often get caught in the past. We often let the past, just like I said earlier, that relationship trauma comes into our relationships now. But how do we keep that? Like, how do we keep the rear view in the back while continuing to move forward, like this quote says?
The rear view, it's not showing us what our future is, but it is a reminder of our struggles, Amy. And it is almost prophetic in how what he's done for you, God will continue to do that for you. And so when you look at what you've gone through in life, how can I help someone else? How can I use this story? How can I be overcome? How can someone else overcome by the word of my testimony based on what I've been through? So it's almost prophetic. So what you go through in that rear view, you can actually look forward to be a better you, to be a better person, and to help others.
I love that so much because I feel like the rear view is important. Like we have to have that. Like what has happened in my past, it has laid the foundation for who I am now. We have to have both views. But until I read this quote, I'd never thought about it like that. It really opened my mind. And I just want to thank you for giving that, not only to me, but to the readers and the people who are watching. So well done, Lisa.
No. Don't shortchange them. You got to come on. Don't shortchange them on this show. Let's get real now. You got some more quotes that you was inspired by too. Just get some shouts out to all the quotes that's in this extraordinary book. So go ahead. What's the other one?
I do have another one. It's a little bit more lengthy, but it's very powerful. It jumped out at me. The rearview mirror does not show us what lies ahead. Rather, it offers clarity on what we have surpassed, the dangers we've avoided, and the journey we've undertaken. It reassures us of our progress, even as it reminds us of our vulnerabilities. And that stood out to me because vulnerability is a power. It's a very scary place to be. It's a place that most people don't want to go. And you guys, I can tell from this interview so far, you're very vulnerable. You're very authentic. You just own whatever's happened, allow it to happen, allow it to be, and embrace it. But most people are not that way. We run from being vulnerable, and we don't want to be authentic. We want to hide things. But there's power in vulnerability, and I just want to applaud you all for being willing to be vulnerable, especially Lisa, with your background in the church. And, you know, I read the portion in the book where you were on your way to church to sing. The accident happened, which you all can read in the book, those of you who are watching. But coming from that background, which I did too, I grew up in a very religious background. Being vulnerable is not an easy thing. You can be judged. You can be, right. Yes, you have to wear a mask. Exactly. And you can be ostracized just for being who you are. And so it's a very hard thing, but I want to applaud you all for that and for putting it out there and for encouraging other people like me and the people watching, just being yourself and sharing your story in an authentic way. So thank you.
That makes it worthwhile. That's exactly what we wanted.
That's all we want. You know, we want to help anybody. It has nothing to do with just specifically infertility. It's any struggles. It's coping skills. There's coping mechanisms that we talk. There's embarrassing situations I share in the book that men have to go through that you would have never have heard if I didn't write it down in the book. Not in this kind of book. I speak officially about some stuff that makes a man cower. That makes a man get to his knees at 300 pounds, a strong man drop to his knees.
Absolutely.
And question everything. If you try to tell any man that at the lowest point, all we need from you is the most infinitesimal seed to carry on your name, and you find out you can't deliver that, drop any man to his knees. I dare him to tell me who hasn't dropped to his knees, who's been through that.
Yeah.
So get the book, I guess.
Before we wrap up, first of all, I'd say thanks so much for taking the time to come on the show and share such a beautiful story of a beautiful journey, not a story, a journey, because there's more to this than just the rear view. It's the future to look forward to. But after sharing such a great story, my question to you is, to the viewers, what have you guys both learned from your journey so far?
That we can't put God in a box. Man, we just can't put him in our box. Our minds are finite. If we just stop, you spoke about the universes that was birthed by God. Whatever you want to call your God, whatever. But the universe that is one of billions of universes was birthed by this, and this man is covering me. So we and we say, oh, he can't do this. After 5 years, I know I can't have a baby. After 8 years, God really revealed to me, I'm not going to have a baby. After 10 years, I was like, okay, you ready to adopt? Time out, Lisa. Stop your adoption papers. Lisa's pregnant.
Wow.
That's how it happened. So I'm saying, hold on to your faith, wherever that faith may lie. But you got to know it doesn't stop with you. So stop putting God in a box. Our minds are finite. We stop here, but God can do whatever you think is impossible. But you got to start with faith of a mustard seed. You got to believe. And that's all I can say to everybody.
That's good. And
I'm waiting on Lisa now.
For me, what I would like to leave with everyone is the word of God says, to write your vision and make it plain. Because in order to understand what you want to do in life and what you need and how to get answered prayer, you have to first, Romans 12:2, you have to first renew your mind. And so to be able to understand, whether it's podcasting, whether it's being in sports, whether it's speaking or writing a book, you need to have a plan. And so this life we live here is short. And so to be able to understand yourself, I believe you do need a vision. And so one of the things that people ask, what will you and Walt do with this book? It's not about, just having a best-selling book, but it's about being able to show other couples. There is a chapter in here called the infertility process. I list every single step for any couple trying, especially in this political climate, especially in this day and age. But in order to understand where you want to go and what you want to do, you have to write that vision and make it plain and be transformed by the renewing of your mind to be able to understand what God can do in and through you.
That was too deep, too powerful.
That was beautiful.
before we wrap up? I see something behind you guys that says the Page Podcast. Tell me a little bit about that and what's it about and how can the viewers subscribe, like, and follow not only your podcast, but how can they get a copy of this book? How do they order this great book?
Oh, I love it. Okay, let's talk about the book first. So Rear View is available. So we have a website first, which is rearviewbook.com. And at the top of that website, there is a link to Amazon, or you can go to directly to Amazon and type in Rear View by Lisa and Walter Page. It's available in Kindle, soft copy, and hardcover like this. If you want an autographed copy, then you'll get this from the website. But the book tells about the birth and the struggle of us conceiving our 3 sons. And so the Pagecast podcast, we have 3 sons who are in college, and they're really into sports and athletics. Some of their friends are into sports and athletics, but they talk about everyday life, dealing with girls, this day and age, this generation, right? And so Walt and I have a podcast. We share the podcast with them, the Pagecast. We talk about Rear View, but they will be talking about things that are germane to what young people 20, 21 and up.
And Lisa and I too. In fact, we just did the first one a couple of days ago with my son, and we just did 3 or 4 shorts
on TikTok.
So, so on TikTok, it's all at Rear View Book, correct?
You changed it to
no, is that Rear View Book?
Rear View Book?
Yeah,
okay.
It's still Rear View Book.
Okay.
He can tell you guys are a couple for real. If he messes up, she comes in. And what did you say? Before we wrap up, let me give shouts out to my celebrity co-host for taking the time to come and help me with such a great show. You also have a book that's out in the podcast. How can the viewers reach out to you to get your book? And tell us a little bit about your book as well.
Well, thank you again for having me, Andre. It's just such an honor. My book is called Finding My Hero Within, A Journey from Incapacitation to Empowerment. And it is on Amazon, or you can go to my website and grab it there, www.getamyshelp.com. And it's about my 10-year journey of living with a broken neck that went undetected for 6 months, and how I was able to reclaim my life instead of taking my life.
And don't forget how can we listen to that great podcast of yours, Polish the Mirror?
Polish the Mirror podcast is also, you can find it on my website, and it's available on Apple, Spotify, all of the podcast hosting sources, and on YouTube under @Polish the Mirror.
Man, this is crazy. We got Polish in the Mirror. We got the Pagecast podcast. We got the Rear View. I mean, we just got everything going on today, man. I'm excited.
Me too.
I think it's time to really get ready to go have a piece of salmon.
There you go. Sounds like a plan.
A baked potato. And finish reading this book, because I'm not done with it, and I appreciate the autograph book. I'm not done with it, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna have you guys come back on, and when we get ready to launch the second part of you guys' journey, ladies and gentlemen. Wait, let me finish. Thank you so much, Lisa and Walter, for taking the time to come on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting, you gotta help me, episode of the Andre
the Beast Crayton Show.
Let's do it again. Andre the
Beast Crayton Show.
Andre the Beast Crayton Show.
That's right. Thank you, guys.